So you want to scale your ad budget, but whenever you do that, your ROAS drops and you don't know how to scale profitably. If you're familiar with this video is for you, because here I will explain exactly how we scale small brands into 7+ figure brands and how to do that without losing profitability or without losing on ROAS. Quickly, why am I qualified to talk about this? We have scaled a dozen of 7 to 9 figure e-commerce brands with performance creatives and meta-ad systems. Now with that having said, let's get started. So the issue that most people have with scaling is that when they see that something is performing well, let's say this one for ROAS, and they are happy at the ROAS of like 3, they go ahead and just increase the budget, let's say to 1,500. The problem with that is that they see a ROAS of 4 and they expect it at 4 if they scale, but it never does. And that's what you have to solve to really scale sustainably. But to be able to do that, you first have to understand why ROAS actually drops when you scale. So let me quickly explain the concept. Essentially, let's say you're targeting an audience. This is your audience. This is who you're targeting, right? This is your audience that you're targeting with those $800 per day right now. This is the core audience that's like most profitable, right? People who buy here have the cheapest cost per acquisition. This is your ideal target audience, right? If it gets further outside, then they are not as ideal. They are maybe a bit more expensive, like age groups, gender, location, and so on, of people that are a bit more expensive, but they are still profitable for you, and you like to sell to them, and essentially like the whole audience contributes to a ROAS of 4 based on your $800 daily budget. Now, when people think, okay, let me just, replicate the success by duplicating the campaign or by increasing the budget by like twice or by, 50% immediately, what you're essentially doing and what you're essentially telling Facebook is that, look, we need an audience that's twice as big as this one. So let's say like that size, that converts just as well as the circle, right? As this audience. And this being the center of like your best, your most cheapest customers. Now, why is this a problem? The problem is that, as we said, like this is the center. This is the best, the cheapest customer for you. The further we actually get from like your ideal customer, and the more expensive it gets. So essentially, when you increase the budget, Facebook doesn't just keep showing to this same audience more and more and converts them more and more, right? It actually reaches out to new people, like to a bigger audience like this one. But the problem with that is that, well, those people, they are less likely to convert because the ads that you're running, they are already optimized for this audience. And now if you suddenly say, okay, Facebook, now find me an audience that is twice as big but converts just as well as the center of this one, well, of course it will struggle and of course it won't work. And this is why basically doubling budgets is so lethal. This is also why the surf scaling method can be effective like for one day but not ongoing, because you completely mess up the optimization. Now, talking about optimization is here actually the answer. If you don't like give Facebook the task of find me a circle, an audience that is twice as big but converts just as well, which is pretty hard to do immediately. With optimization, of course, it still works. But if you don't give it that task, but instead just say, okay, give me a circle that is slightly bigger than this one, but converts almost as well. If you do this, then Facebook will find you the circle. It will still need some time to optimize. So you increase the budget, you will still see a ROAS drop, a smaller ROAS drop, because of this effect, right? You're reaching out to people that are less likely to buy because the audience is getting bigger. But at the same time, you're giving Facebook the chance to actually optimize, and like it has to find essentially ideal people to sell to, but a way smaller amount of that people. And that it can do much faster for you. And this is why the ROAS doesn't drop as fast. And this is also why the optimization isn't messed up, but actually, you give Facebook time to find those people. It can find those people faster because it's less people to find, and then performance stabilizes. So this is the reason why you want to scale slowly, incrementally, and not just, double the budgets. Essentially, you want to go like this, okay? You increase it a bit, then performance might drop a bit. You just wait a few days, it stabilizes. Then you say, okay, like this becomes the new like black circle, which is stable and you're getting good sales in it. Then you say, okay, now find me a circle that is again slightly bigger than this one. And this circle or the next circle is already bigger than the initial, doubled audience circle. But because you don't task Facebook with, finding an audience that's twice as big, but just maybe 10%, 20% larger than the last one, it will do the task for you without a major performance drop. And this is what we want to go for. So what did we learn from this so far? Essentially, you want to task Facebook to find slightly bigger audiences, then wait until performance stabilizes, and then give it the task to scale, like to find a bigger audience that is performing well again, and so on, without making big jumps. Still, you will have a performance drop, right? If you just make the circle a bit bigger, it still needs time to optimize and find those people to sell to. And this basically your best performing ads here, right? Again, if we look at the ad account, it's this ad set, the ads in here, right? They have its own ideal audience. Every single ad and ad set in here has its own ideal audience. Don't think it goes out to the same kind of people. Sometimes it does based on the messaging, but very often, especially if you go for different angles, it goes to completely different audiences. So the truth is that like this is actually not how it looks like. This is just a concept I used to explain that to you. How it looks like is that here you have one like great winning ad, right? Here you have another smaller winner. Here you have another smaller winner. And they all go out to different audiences, okay? And those are the audiences. And this is your entire audience that you can sell to. But those winners scale in those particular audiences based on the angle you take and based on the messaging you take and based on what the Facebook algorithm optimizes them to go to. So if you ask yourself, okay, how do I scale? First of all, you increase the budgets by 10 to 20% daily. And even this is quite aggressive, because if you're doing it daily, it is exponential and grows a lot. So there are some certain rules that you want to keep in mind when you're doing that. What kind of rules? I'll show you in a second. But before that, quickly back to this concept. So essentially, like, of course, yeah, you scale by increasing the budgets, but this is not everything, because there's always a limit until where you can scale without having the ROAS drop. Essentially, you will make the circles here bigger, and you know, at some point it will still like just, you know, Facebook will tell you, okay, I try to find as many people as possible that convert at that cost for that angle that you're running. But eventually you will run out of those people and it will get expensive and ROAS will drop. But it doesn't mean that those people, like, they don't exist. And it doesn't mean that you like exhaust your whole audience or whatever. You are just advertising to a tiny little bit of the audience. Even if more people get to see your ads, they don't convert, because they need other angles, other messaging, maybe just another timing to convert, right? So don't think, okay, like I've exhausted my audience. Instead, what you need to do if you want to scale is you want to increase the budgets, but the truth is how you scale actually is by making angles that scale, for example, in this audience. If you make a new winning ad, a new winning angle that converts like this audience, you can spend like what? This audience size of money more, just as profitable if you make a new winning ad, if you make a new winning ad that appeals to this audience. Again, this is how you scale on a high level perspective, not by just increasing the budgets, but by actually finding more winners that appeal to another basically segment of your audience, another like part of your audience, another sub audience, and that converts them at the ROAS that you actually want to convert them at, not by just increasing budgets. There will be always a limit how far you can increase budget without seeing a ROAS drop. But again, this is not because you've reached some like final state of scalability of like this audience. No. This is because your current ads that you're running just appeal to this audience and you have stretched it as much as possible. And now you need angles that basically appeal to like other sub audiences, to other customer avatars within your target audience, so that they can convert just as profitably as this audience. Now, so much on the creative strategy. Let's quickly go back and actually let's be very practical and talk about how do you actually implement the budget scaling. Now, again, this is very simple. You just need two numbers to do it. One is your break-even ROAS. The second one is your target ROAS. If you work with target cost per acquisition, which makes more sense if you go for LTV rather than one-time purchases, then focus on that. But essentially what you want to do is, first of all, break-even ROAS, look at the last 7 days, look at if something is below break-even. If it's below break-even, you turn it off. Very simple. Now, if you want to scale, you look at the last 3 days. Every single day, you look at the last 3 days. And if you see, let's say, like this, the target ROAS of this brand is currently 2.5. So you see, okay, this is above, you know, this is above, this is above, this is above the target, and this is below, and so on. Okay, so you go into the campaign. If it's an ABO, you go into the campaign and you see, okay, this is above the target. So we increase the budget. We don't double it. We don't duplicate anything, right? We just increase the budget by 20%. So you go like, okay, 140 times 1.2 is 168. So you go ahead and change it to 168. Now you want to do the same thing on all the other ad sets. If it's below your target, you just decrease it by 20%. So this one is below its target, 0.82, definitely below the target. So let's select this so we know which one it is. Here we go into this 180 times 0.8, so basically decreasing by 20%. 144, so we change that to 144. Now I won't publish because this account we already did the updates for today, so this will just stay as it is, but this is what you want to do on a daily basis. Now you might ask yourself, okay, what if it's not an ABO but a CBO? Then it's even simpler. You just look at the CBO and then you adjust the budget here for the CBO, and that based on the same rule. So you should apply these rules if you want to scale stably, but still the only way to scale much more without significant ROAS drop is actually to make new winning ads for new avatars with new angles that actually perform well and reach out to completely new people in your audience. Never think that one of your ads is going to your entire audience. It's never the case. It's always optimized for a small part of the pool of potential people who could actually buy from you. Now you can already see based on that, of course, the more winning ad creatives you produce, the faster you can scale. If you launch one new winning ad, well, then you add this pool of people that buy from you. If you launch 10 new winning ads, then you add 10 bigger pools of people who buy from you. And then in the best case, you can 10x your budget. Of course, not immediately, as always, step by step, but those new ads will have an amazing ROAS within the new audiences, and then you can scale them up pretty fast. Now, if you need someone who helps you make those winning ads that scale your brand so much for new customer personas, for the existing customer persona, and so on, just click the link below. You'll get to a landing page where you can book a call with me, we can discuss it, and then we can work together if it's a fit. Also, if you're interested in how exactly I make those winning ads, check out this video where I explain exactly our process. You can get familiar with it. You can even just take that and do it yourself if you want. Keep scaling. See you there.